Hello YouTube, let's continue with our tutorial about the HKPilot 2.7 master set. In the previous video we've talked about how to connect everything together, and in this video I'm going to show you how to connect the whole system to the PC and upload firmware, change parameters depending on our needs and so on. So let's go ahead and start. The first thing you're going to need to do is to download the software, which is called Mission Planner. Just open Google and type Mission Planner. And then go ahead and click the first link that you see. Go to Downloads, Mission Planner, and then scroll down to Download and click the button Download. I have already downloaded, so you go ahead and download it and then install it. It's a straightforward installation. After you do that, this window may appear, and you just go ahead and click the link Install this driver software anyway, and the installation will continue. So after doing that, we're gonna go ahead and connect the flight controller to the PC. To connect the flight controller to the PC, you're gonna need to connect these two pins together, as I've said in the first tutorial. We need to put a jumper here, and to do that I'm gonna take a jumper from my FTDI flash, and these smalls are a little bit these cuts are a little bit small here, so you might need to open the case and install the jumper, these two pins nearby the power module part. And then after doing that, we'll take the cable and connect the flight controller to the PC. So first connect the flight controller, and then on an available USB port on your PC, the green LED is on, and now we will see also the other LED flash in here. So now let's open the Mission Planner, and the first thing you need to do is to go and choose the right COM port. So after installing the drivers have been installed, you're gonna have to choose the right COM port. So you just find the COM port where it says Arduino Mega 2560. In my case is port 4. In your case might be different, but it doesn't matter as long as you see Arduino Mega, and choose that port. And it is also important to choose the right baud rate. So if you connect the flight controller directly to the PC using the mini USB port, then you choose the 115200 baud rate. And then I'm going to use it for my plane Bixler 2, so I choose Ardu plane. And don't click connect, so you don't need to click connect, but first we need to go to the initial setup and download firmware from internet and upload it to the flight controller. So there are actually three steps. The program the first reads the values that are the firmware that is in our flight controller, downloads firmware from internet, and then uploads it to the flight controller. And the final step is it verifies it. So depending on your RC craft that you have, you download the firmware. I'm gonna use this for my Bixler 2, so I'm gonna download Ardu plane and click yes. So the program starts reading, downloading from internet, writing to the flight controller, and verifying. Now it's uploading the firmware. As you can see in the flight controller, the LED flashes, which means it is reading or writing to the flight controller. So now it's verifying the firmware. So the uploading has finished successfully, done. So we can go ahead now and click the connect button. So it's loading the parameters, and it is now connected. We go to the first button, the first window, flight data. Normally we must wait 10 to 15 seconds for the flight controller to calibrate itself, and after 15 to 20 seconds, sorry, after the time has passed, we can go ahead and check if the flight controller is working. We can do that by moving the flight controller, by rotating it, and see if the values on the mission planner change. So now we can check if everything is okay. So if we move the flight controller, as you can see, the artificial horizon also moves together with the flight controller, and also the values. So after checking that everything is right and working, the first thing we need to do now is to calibrate the accelerometer. To do that, you just go to initial setup page, and then mandatory hardware and accelerometer calibration. we can do that after we connect everything together and put on the plane, but I would suggest you to do that now, because it's easier to rotate and move around the flight controller while calibrating. It is also important to know that this the flight controller has a direction flow. So there is a arrow which is pointing this way. This means this is forward, and it is important to know that while calibrating, because we need to rotate it left or right, so we will know which side is left and which is right, what is front and what is back. So this arrow pointing that way, this means this is forward. So let's go ahead and click calibrate accelerometer. So the flight control is level. So left is this way. Right. Nose down is this way. The arrow down there. And nose up. And on its back. So calibration successful. And it is also important to know that after you calibrate the flight controller, you don't calibrate level. If you calibrate level, if you click this button, then all this previous calibration data will be deleted and overwritten. So don't click the calibrate level after you calibrate the flight controller. And now after calibrating, we'll go to the first page, and we will go ahead and connect everything to the flight controller, like the GPS, power module, and then we will go on with the rest of the installation. It is also important to know that first we need to disconnect it, and then disconnect the flight controller. Don't connect anything to the flight controller while it is powered on. You might fry the voltage regulator. A lot of people are having problems with that. This is actually the second version, improved version, so they have made a kind of a protection. But anyway, I would suggest you not to do that, so be careful. Don't connect everything while the flight controller is powered on. First remove the power from the flight controller, and then connect everything, and then connect the power again. Sorry. Also, after you do all these things, we're gonna go ahead and remove the jumper that we have installed previously. We are not gonna need to have it there anymore, because now after we connect the telemetry radius and everything, we're gonna power the system with the power module. So when connecting the power module to the flight controller, you have to remove the jumper. So everything is connected now. The only thing I haven't connected is the minimum OSD. We are not gonna need it right now. So now we'll just go ahead and connect the telemetry radio to a free USB port on our PC. As you can see, it powers on, and then connect the system with a battery. So what we need to do is to connect the whole system together. We need to choose the right COM port and the right baud rate here. So in my case this is the COM port 10, and we have to choose the baud rate 57600 and then click connect. It says bad GPS help because I'm in a basement and I don't have GPS lock here, so that's why it says GPS help. So now we are connected through our telemetry radio modules, and to do that, to verify that, I'm going to go ahead and rotate the flight controller. As you can see, the artificial horizon moves, changes, and also the values. Now we will go ahead, and if you are having trouble connecting with the telemetry radio, you go to the initial setup and go to radio to 3DR optional hardware and 3DR radio, and you can upload also latest firmware for your 3DR radios here. Just go ahead and upload firmware. It will download the firmware and upload it to your 3DR radios. And it is also important to know that you have to if there is anything wrong, you have to check your values. All the values on the left side should match the values on the right side, so be careful. Just take a look at it and see if everything is okay. Sorry. So after connecting the flight controller, we need to go to we will go ahead to the mandatory hardware, initial setup, mandatory hardware, and we have already calibrated the accelerometer. The next thing we're gonna do is to calibrate the compass. So there are actually 3 methods. I have mentioned in the first video that this flight controller has a compass inside, but if you like to use if you don't like to use that compass but use another one, an external one instead, like the one that's in here in the GPS module, then you have to remove a jumper there, and you have to check this box here, to click this box which says enable the external compass. And to calibrate the compass, there are actually 3 methods. The first one is just to leave it like that, and then while the plane flies, the offsets will compare to the GPS, and then it will calibrate itself. This is the option auto declination and the calibration. The other option is to calibrate it yourself, and to give the declination of your position where you are, so in degrees and minutes. So after you do that, you click live calibration, and you calibrate it manually. You have also not one but probably many YouTube examples how to calibrate the compass. And the third option is if you calibrate your compass once, you can use your log file to calibrate it next time. So you don't need to calibrate it every time. You just calibrate it once, and then you use a log file to use the existing calibration. So after you calibrate the compass, the next thing is to calibrate the radio. You connect the radio and click the calibrate button, and then you move the sticks of the radio up, down. My radio is not connected, but it's pretty simple. You just move the sticks and it will find the minimums and maximums, and then you go ahead and click done when it's done. Eventually you might need to reverse the channels. You'll see if one of the channels doesn't correspond to your need or your desired direction on your radio, you just click reverse. The next option is flight modes. This is actually a cool feature of the flight controller, and it makes it possible to change flight modes while the airplane is in the air, and it is really a cool feature. I'm gonna need probably to make a tutorial only for this part, and then also fail-safe. I think I'm gonna do a tutorial about these two parts. This was about mandatory hardware, and then we have the optional hardware. We talked about the 3DR radio, and then if you have optional hardware like the power module or sonar or airspeed, you can just go ahead and set up them here. I'm gonna go ahead and set up the battery monitor because we already have that. So it is this one, the power module. We can monitor with this power module, we can monitor the voltage and the current. So here you can choose what would you like to do. So disable it, not use it, or do you want to monitor only the battery voltage, or both voltage and current? So let's go ahead and choose voltage and current. I'm gonna use that. And then the third option here, the third drop down list has the options about the APM version. I'm gonna have to choose, and you probably, if you have the HKPilot, you're gonna have to choose the first option, which is a non-3DR. And the second drop down list, if you click other, this will give us the opportunity to calibrate the battery. So what we do is we take a multimeter and we measure the values of the battery, and we write down the values here. If the measurement is not right, we do the same also with the current. To calibrate the current is a little bit more difficult because we have to take the engine, put a propeller, and then load a little bit the motor and see how many amps does it draw, and then give the amps here and then calibrate. So, and the other option here is what battery are you going to use? I'm going to use a ZB2650. So this option here, it will tell you with voice if the battery goes low, like passes a value. So it will also ask you what to say. So in standard is warning battery at the value of the voltage and the percentage of the current left, and then you can change this, like put anything else here, change the phrase, and then what will be the voltage you want to be warned at. So in my case it's 10.3. You can change that too if you want. And what percentage do you want to warn at? In my case it's also 20. You can change that too. And then click OK. And I don't have the rest of the hardware here, so the additional modules here. We have the OSD, minimum OSD, but you don't have to do anything here, only if you have problems with the telemetry. After setting up all these values here, we will go ahead and click the config tuning button, and here you can choose what units do you want to use. I'm like distance units or speed units. I'm using meters. I'm in Europe, I'm using meters. For distance you can choose like meters or feet. I'm using, for speed units, I'm using kilometers per hour. You can change that to whatever you like to use, like miles per hour, knots, or whatever. And here you can also enable or disable the speeches, like warnings that the mission planner warns you about, like waypoints, modes, like battery warnings, altitude warnings, etc. Okay, now let's go ahead and create a mission. To create a mission, we go to the second window, flight plane, and then the first thing we're gonna need to do is to set a home location. As I said before, the home location will be set once you power on the flight controller on the field, and when the GPS gets locked, that will be your home location. So you just go on the field, power on the system, and then wait for the GPS to get locked. Once it gets locked, then you just go ahead and click home location here, and that will be your home location. And then down here will be the altitude, absolute altitude, so above the sea level. But if you would like to set the home location yourself, like here in the mission planner, let's go ahead and let's say we'll set the home location here, a random place. All you need to do is go to one of the fields here, like latitude or longitude. Just click on one of the numbers there, and then click on the map where you'd like to have the home location. I will like say here, and that will be our home. And now we will need to set the altitude. In this case it's gonna be 0, because we will say that the altitude is on the ground here, but in the field it will find the altitude above the sea level, and it will lock automatically, so you don't need to do anything. So the altitude 0, and then now let's go ahead and create some waypoints. To create a waypoint, you just click on the map somewhere where your plane would like to go, like here. You'll create waypoint 1, and as you can see down here, if you don't see these values here, you might go down and click here like this, and then stretch the window, and you will have the values down here, all the waypoints with the data. And let's go ahead and create a second waypoint, let's say here, a third one here, a fourth waypoint, and then sorry, fifth one. If you'd like to change the waypoint, the position, you just go ahead and click on the waypoint and then change the position, rearrange them the way you want. And then the other thing we're gonna need to do is to go here and change the radius. Mine is set to 30 meters. I find this a good value. I have also read on internet it's a good value for airplanes, FPV planes. And then if you have RG-copter like multi-rotors, you set the loiter radius and the altitude. This is the altitude you'd like the airplane to fly at. I've set mine on 100. You can set it like change it to 80 meters or whatever. Mine was at 100. There's something you need to know about this. I'm going to talk about that later. Sorry. And now as you can see, all the waypoints, the waypoint 1, the position, latitude and longitude, and then the altitude, you can change them each one separately. If you'd like to use, say like this waypoint will be like 50 meters, this one will be like 80 meters, and so on. I'm gonna leave them 100 for the moment, all of them. So the airplane will go to will follow this path, flight path. We'll go to the first waypoint, then to the second one, to the third one, fourth one, fifth one, and then so on will continue. So once you have set and created the flight mission, the flight mission, you need to see and verify it. A good way to do that is to see that on Google Earth, and to do it you just go ahead here and click view KML file. What this does is it will transfer all these path, the values on Google Earth, and where you can see on 3D. So just go ahead and click open. I'm not gonna save it, I'm just gonna open directly, and as you can see it will start the Google Earth. If you don't have Google Earth, you just type on Google, like for Google Earth, and download it. It's a free program. And then on the left side you'll see temporary places, network KML. This is the flight path we will fly with our plane. And as you can see here, there is our home location here at 0, and then the plane will will follow the path to the waypoint 1, climbing at 100 meters, sorry, and it will hold the altitude of 100 meters to the second waypoint, third waypoint, fourth waypoint, fifth waypoint, and then to the home location again, 0 waypoint. So this is a good method to see if you will have any problems with your height, with your altitude during the flight. So I'm gonna go ahead now and change. I'm gonna go and delete this first. I'm going to change the values now to see what's the difference, how the flight the altitude changes. I'm gonna go and say, let's say the waypoint 2, I'm gonna change the altitude to, let's say, 500 meters. Waypoint 3, 8 meters, 80 meters. Waypoint 4, 60. Waypoint 5, 50 or 40. And now let's go ahead and click HKPilot and see how it will look on Google Earth. So there it is, network came out, and then there we have the flight plan, flight path. This wasn't like, it was just to show you, because from 100 to 500 that will be like too much. So as you can see, from 0 it will go to 100 meters, and then to 500, and then it will go down to, this one was 80, and to 60, to 40 meters, and then to 0. So this is a very good way to see how your flight will look like on Google Earth. I like it very much. So I'm gonna go and explain now something else. Let's go ahead and delete this mission planner. Let's find a place where there is a mountain or a hill, and let's show you some cases you need to be careful at. Okay, here we have some hills or mountains. Let's say we'll set our home location here. Let's go and click on the latitude numbers and then click on the map. We will delete the waypoints that we have created there. Sorry, I'm not deleting them. I'm gonna go delete here. And so this will be our home location at 0, altitude 0, so it means underground here. And let's go ahead and create a waypoint here, altitude 100 meters. Then let's go ahead and create another waypoint on the other side of the hill, waypoint 2, also altitude of 100 meters. And then back on this side, waypoint 3, and let's go for landing. So what will happen now? So from here we don't see if we will have any problems, but if we go ahead and click on view KML, watching the terrain here, I'm sure that we will have problems because of the hill. So now we'll go ahead and see what will happen. We will see that from the waypoint 1 going to waypoint 2, the airplane will try to hold 100 meters altitude, but on the way it will have the mountain or the hill, which will be a problem, and it will eventually crash into the mountain. So there it is. As you can see, the airplane will start from home location and climb to altitude 100 meters here to waypoint 1, and then it will go to waypoint 2, and it will try to hold the altitude of 100 meters from the waypoint 2, which is here. So it's 100 meters above the waypoint 2, but as you can see, it will crash on the mountain here, because this mountain here is higher than this peak here, and it will crash into the mountain. And also the other waypoint going from waypoint 2 to waypoint 3, it will crash into the mountain too, because this waypoint 3 here is 100 meters this distance, this altitude, so it will try to go to that altitude directly, so it will crash into the mountains. So what would you have done? Right, if you would like to follow this flight plan, if the good idea will be like to put a waypoint right here on the top here, and then another one on the top of this hill, and another one on the top of this hill, and then the other one down there. So the airplane will go 100 meters above here, and then 100 meters above here, and 100 meters above this other hill, and then it will go down there. So you have to be careful about the height of the flight terrain where you're going to fly. Sorry. So we can save this waypoint on our hard drive, on our PC or USB stick, or wherever you like to save it, and then you can load it later and modify it or use it for whatever you'd like to use it. So let's go ahead and save this waypoint file. Click Save Waypoint File and name it. I'm gonna click 1 on desktop and then save it. And then if everything is okay and ready, so you go ahead and click Write Waypoints, and you will write your waypoints to your flight controller. Sorry, my flight controller was not connected, that's why it said error. So COM port 10, connect, and then waiting for the flight controller to load the parameters, and let's go ahead and write the waypoints, and already done. Now all the waypoints are saved here. Once you set the flight controller on the plane and everything and go to the field to this home location, it will fly this path, this flight path. If you would like to measure the distance between two waypoints, you can do that by right-clicking on a waypoint. Let's say we would like to measure the distance between waypoint 4 and waypoint 3. We go to the waypoint 4, right-click on it, and then go to Map Tool and Measure Distance. And then we'll go to the next waypoint we'd like to measure the distance, and also right-click there, and then Map Tool and Measure Distance, and there we will have the distance, 4,677 meters distance from waypoint 3 to waypoint 4. So that will be all for this tutorial. On the next tutorial I'm going to talk about the flight modes, like the flight modes, fail-safe, and also I'm going to make a separate tutorial about the MinimOSD, how to set up the MinimOSD, and how to change the char sets, so the characters, if you'd like to change them the way you want to have them, specific way or whatever. I'm going to make a tutorial about that. So thank you guys for watching, and see you on the next tutorial.